Okay, so are you ready to like dive deep into this?
Yeah.
I mean, love, it's got to be one of the most like endlessly fascinating things.
Mm-hmm.
A&D, like surprisingly complicated.
Absolutely. And
Right.
this whole idea of lasting love, I mean, we toss that phrase around, but
Yeah.
do you even know what that means? Is it like fireworks,
Yeah.
after like 20 years, or what
Right.
does that look like?
Yeah. Is it like the new relationship energy versus like the
Exactly.
comfortable we've been together forever
Oh,
energy?
yeah. And are those not both love? Just like
Yeah.
different chapters,
Different
right?
chapters. Yeah. And like,
And
yeah.
don't even get me started on all the kinds of love. Romantic love.
Oh, right.
The love you have in your family, your close friends,
Yeah.
those all last differently too?
That's so true. And I wonder about that. Like, how does our brain even process this whole love thing over time?
Well, get this, right? When we fall in love, it's like a dopamine and norepinephrine party up in your brain. Those are the
How
hormones
does that was
that
that?
make love feel so exciting.
It's almost addictive. But here's the thing. Okay, stay with me because over time, the brain's like, all right, party's over. And it starts laying down more oxytocin and vasopressin.
Interesting.
Now, those bad boys are all about that bonding, that trust, the long haul, you know?
Ah. So it's like fireworks versus a slow burn.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Which brings us to
Yeah.
the building blocks,
Right.
right? Because anyone can light a firework.
Right,
This is the
exactly.
long game we're talking about here.
Oh, so you mean like communication, trust, making memories together, all that good stuff.
You got it.
Yeah.
Nurturing those is key.
Mm.
But, and this is a big but, life happens, right? Kids, jobs, just getting older, all that impacts things.
You don't marry a person, you marry a life. Isn't that how the saying goes?
There you go.
Yeah.
And that brings me to these love myths, these fairy tales we're fed,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like, if it's meant to be, then it's all
Easy.
effortless.
Oh, yeah.
One article you shared even busted the opposites attract thing.
It's actually shared values that matter way more for success. So yeah, lasting love, it takes work, being on the same page, growing together. What do you think?
100%. Even in those fairy tales.
Right.
I bet there were fights we never heard about.
Which is a good segue into those real life love stories we got.
Oh, yeah.
Like social media is just the highlight reel. It's messy out there.
Totally.
Yeah.
But seeing how couples in the real world faced those challenges, those arguments, and came out stronger, that's gold.
Right. Forget the grand gestures. Sometimes it's the small things, right?
That's powerful. And it gets you thinking, you know? If how we see love is always changing, shouldn't how we do love change too? It's not about some perfect romance,
Right.
but embracing the real, sometimes messy,
Yeah,
but ultimately way more rewarding journey of building a love that actually lasts.
that's a really good point.
What do you think? I think that's so true. I feel like we get so caught up in, like you said, the fairy tales and the idea of everything being perfect. And then like when things get hard, you're like, oh, well, I guess this isn't the right relationship. But like maybe the right relationship is just the one where you choose to keep going, you know?
And where you choose to keep putting in the work. Like any good thing, you got to nurture it. You don't plant a garden and then just expect it to thrive without, watering it, weeding it.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Relationships need that kind of care and attention too.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
So then I guess the real question is like, what can we do to actually nurture love? Like we've talked about communication and trust, but what are some of those other like practical things?
Well, something that came up a lot in those real life stories we read about was the importance of maintaining individuality.
Oh, interesting. So like not losing yourself in the relationship.
Exactly. Because, when you first fall in love, it's all about like merging your lives and spending every second together. And that's great. But long term, it's crucial to also have your own interests, your own friends, your own sense of self.
Right. Because otherwise you just end up feeling like two ships passing in the night, I guess.
Right. And then there's the whole thing about making time for each other, even when life gets busy, because it's so easy to get caught up in work and kids and all of the obligations of life that you forget to nurture your connection as a couple.
It's like scheduling those important meetings, only it's a date night.
Exactly. Even if it's just carving out 30 minutes each day to put down the phone, switch off the TV, and just talk to each other.
Your quality time over quantity, right.
Always. And
Yeah.
then there's the whole forgiveness piece, which I think is huge.
Because nobody's perfect
Yeah.
and you're going to mess up sometimes.
Exactly. And learning to forgive each other, to move on from those mistakes, is so crucial for building a lasting love.
It's like choosing to love your partner every single day, even when it's hard.
Exactly. And choosing to see the best in them, even when they're not at their best.
That's really beautiful. And it makes me think about something else. What about the idea of, like, falling out of love? Is that a real thing, or is it more about just not putting in the effort?
That's a great question, and I think it's probably a little bit of both. Because, yeah, those initial feelings of intense passion and excitement do tend to fade over time. That's just biology. But whether or not you fall out of love completely really depends on how you choose to navigate those changes.
So it's like love is a choice, not just a feeling.
1000%. It's about waking up every day and choosing to love your partner, choosing to invest in the relationship, choosing to grow together. And that's a really empowering thought, don't you think?
It totally is, because it means that lasting love isn't some magical thing that just happens to a lucky few. It's something that we can all create if we're willing to put in the effort.
Exactly. And that's a really hopeful message to end on, don't you think?
I do. So for anyone listening who's maybe feeling a little discouraged about love, remember, it's not about finding the perfect person. It's about finding someone who's willing to put in the work alongside you to build a love that lasts.
Beautifully said.
And I guess that's our deep dive into love for today.
Until next time.